Hey guys, I'm Adam Caesar. Welcome to another episode of Project Black T-Shirt. Today we're going to be taking a look at a very anticipated, independently funded, independently released horror film called The Barn. A late 1980s slasher throwback. Even the box here has like cool faux stickers. And we'll see what I thought of it. Alright, so The Barn, directed by Justin Seaman, coming from Nevermore Films Productions. A low-budget kind of labor of love effort that really shines through, and it's set around Halloween, and has a couple cameos by kind of horror royalty. Linnea Quigley and Ari Lehman show up. And the best thing that I can say about this film is that it makes me feel not only like it's October, not only like it's Halloween, which a lot of movies do. You know, Trick or Treat, John Carpenter's Halloween. There are movies that can give you that kind of Halloween fix. Hack-O-Lantern, which I feel like this movie, you never really think, like, you look at a director and it's like, this dude's seen Hack-O-Lantern. I bet he has. But not only that feeling of Halloween, which I think the movie does very well, but also the feeling of being at a horror convention, feeling like, even though I bought this through the mail, feeling like, hey, I probably, like, I bought this and I have good memories of, like, horror convention, of, like, you know, smelling, you know, fake fog and latex from masks and, you know, the odd rodeo smell that Rock and Shock has. That's what this movie kind of gives you. If you're like me, if you're a horror fan, if you're that certain kind of horror fan that goes to cons, that loves the genre, that loves the, like, kind of DIY aesthetic that a lot of the genre and a lot of its fans take to heart. If you're not that kind of person, if you're the kind of person that, you know, we talk about a lot of, like, very slick, very new VOD features where low budget is like a $5 million movie. That is not this movie. If that is the kind of horror that you like, if that is the kind of film that you prefer to watch, I would say The Barn isn't for you, and the people that made The Barn know that it's not for you, and the people that made The Barn because it's for people like me, and people like a lot of my friends who go to cons and wear black t-shirts and try to contribute to the genre in some way. The Barn has this faux late 80s aesthetic. It has that kind of digitally added film grime to it. There are cigarette burns and all these different things. And it's done in such a convincing way that I was watching this movie. My girlfriend came in and she's like, oh, what's this? And I'm like, The Barn. Described it, and she's like, well, it's not new, because I watch a lot of older films. And I'm like, no, this was made like a couple years ago. This isn't, or, you know, it came out this year. This is not a 1989 feature. So it fooled her. Like, true, that's not like the, you know, all due respect to her, this is not the most trained eye, but it fooled her. And if you watch the trailer, if you want to, like, get a feel for this movie, what you see in the trailer is not kind of false advertising. A lot of these productions that are done on Indiegogo and Kickstarter can put together a hell of a trailer, but then the final film kind of falls apart. What you see with The Barn's trailer is what you get, which is one of the highest pieces of praise you can give a movie, because that late 80s aesthetic, that, like, there are three kind of horror icons they're trying to kind of start here. There's, like, this pumpkin-headed dude. There's a scarecrow, which, for those of us that love the much maligned late 80s scarecrow boom in films, appreciate. And there's, like, a demonic miner. And they all have, like, a cool aesthetic, and they're all, like, lovingly, like, made, and we know that they all have different kind of powers. Like, the pumpkin guy can see through other pumpkins on Halloween night. It's a very, very well thought out, well put together movie that you can kind of feel the effort and the production value in every frame. And if you like independent cinema, that is, like, with the capital I, you're probably going to like The Barn. You're probably at least going to appreciate The Barn. And it was, it's like a DVD set that comes with 2 discs. There's even a video game on here, which I haven't gotten to play yet. There's, like, an old NES kind of looking video game that they had developed alongside the movie. It's just, like, it's clear that these guys and gals loved working on this project, and the effort pays off when you finally plunk it in and watch it. So I'll put the link in the description to, I think it's like the Barn merch something. It's either like a Bandcamp or something. Very easy to buy. They shipped it out pretty quickly. So yeah, I recommend the Barn if that sounds like your kind of thing. Kids on Halloween night, they have all these esoteric rules for what you can and can't do during Halloween. They're kind of growing out of it. They know that they're going to be not friends forever. They're just high school friends. It kind of has that kind of last hurrah, nostalgic, heart-tugging subplot to it. And it's got a ton of gore and inventive kills and really no CGI. Maybe a tiny bit of CGI, but no obtrusive CGI to it. Very cool slasher setup. Like, there's a massacre at a Halloween party. There's a massacre at a kind of satanic church towards the end. There's a lot of stuff. It's like Dead Alive on a budget. Check out the Barn if anything that I've said has pinged your interest. If you're not that kind of person, if you're like the Autopsy of Jane Doe or, you know, The Eyes of My Mother kind of person, that's cool too. I'm kind of both kind of people, so the Barn is something I really enjoyed. For the book recommendation this week, I wanted to kind of continue that DIY, we can do it horror, low budget feel, so I'm not going to talk about a prose book, I'm going to talk about a comic book. This is Burial Plot, and this is Midnight Crew Studios, which is run by Chris LaMartina and Jimmy George, kind of directing, screenwriting, producing partners. They've done Call Girl of Cthulhu, the WNUF Halloween special. If you've seen those movies, and those are great pictures, great low-budget pictures, if you haven't seen them, I highly recommend checking those out. Those are great movies. This is this little 60s comic, EC comic throwback side project that they had done. I think they did this on Kickstarter. It's got kind of like a Crypt Keeper-esque, Doug Graves, I think is the name of their horror host. It's 2 stories. It's a little floppy, really quick read. I think you can still get it from them. I'll try to link over to their website. If you can't, you should check out Call Girl of Cthulhu is my favorite of the 2, and WNUF, which has a similar aesthetic to the Barn, only it's a faux 1980s TV special. They're both really good. They're both well worth checking out. I know they have some other films that I haven't picked up yet, and I feel bad that I haven't, and I'm admitting that on video. But those 2 films I can definitely vouch for because I've seen them and I own them. They're very good. Burial Plots, very fun. One story is about a guy who used to be a archaeology professor who's now homeless. It's called Bum Rap. So I think you can see where that's going since he studied Egyptology. And a health club where the dudes in the health club, the dudes running the health club are werewolves. And if you don't make your way in, they just eat you. It's very silly, very full of puns. Like, it's basically just a pun delivery system. Very much not a serious thing, but neither were EC Comics, really. They're kind of quick little moralistic stories with a ton of eye-popping gags in them. Very fun, beautiful illustrations. Well worth checking out. And again, if you can't get this, if you can't track down a copy of this, well worth checking out these guys' films because they're really cool. Burial Plots, and the movie this week was The Barn. If you like anything that you've seen here, if you like looking at my dumb face and hearing me talk about movies or books, please check out my other videos on the channel, hit that like button, subscribe, and if you like independent horror films and you think that I should check something out that I haven't seen, or I haven't mentioned here, please throw me a comment. I love hearing about this stuff, and the problem with this whole, with this subgenre is that it's basically word of mouth. If you don't hear about a movie, there are a million movies on Amazon, there are a million movies being independently distributed. If you don't hear about them, if you don't talk about them, no one knows that they're the good ones, and no one knows that they should check them out. Because there's a lot of crap out there, but there's a lot of good stuff too. Because like Midnight Crew and Nevermore are proving right now. There's a lot of good stuff, a lot of well-made, intelligent, maybe a little bit dipping into nostalgia. There are those things that are meant to feed our inner horror fan or our inner 6-year-old horror nerd, and I think these are great things that do that for grown-ups. So if you know of any things like that, please drop the name in the comments so I can go check them out. I'm Adam Caesar. If you want to hear more about me, I've got a bunch of books that I've written. Those are all available online. I'll put some links in the description to my mailing list. If you sign up for the mailing list, I send you a free ebook. Got a couple short stories in there and a novel excerpt, and you can kind of try before you buy. Thanks for listening to my spiel. I'm Adam Caesar, and I'll see you next week on Project Black T-shirt.